Welcome, I'm Dave. In this video, I'll be introducing the Harp Plane. The Harp Plane is used during a sanding process to make a harmonica more airtight. The device provides a secure grip and even pressure while flat sanding combs and reed plates. The Harp Plane also provides protection for the delicate reeds. Let's get started.
Hi, I'm Dave. I'll be improving this Hohner Marine Band harmonica, so I'll be using a Marine Band harp plane. There are specific harp planes designed for specific harmonicas. For more on that, visit dbombmute.com. The goal is to flatten the surfaces of the harmonica sandwich to make it more airtight. This will improve its playability. Look closely and you may see light between the reed plates and comb. This is a clear indication that the harmonica needs work. Very few stock harmonicas are truly airtight. That doesn't mean they're unplayable, but I appreciate every advantage I can get. Before I dismantle this harmonica, I'm going to round off the corners and edges using hand files and sandpaper. The first step is to remove the cover plates. Care should be taken to avoid bending the plates. I'm going to replace the cover plate nails with nuts and bolts. To do this, I simply drill slightly oversized holes as I remove the nails. In this example, I also want to replace the reed plate nails with screws. Here's a brief look at my method. Start by loosening the nails, then tape the ends of the sandwich tightly together. Now pull the nails. When dismantling the harmonica, take care not to pry excessively or bend parts out of shape. I prefer to pull the nails using a pair of fine side cutters. Select a drill bit slightly smaller in diameter than the screws to allow for tapping. Tap the reed plate exit holes for the selected fasteners. Slice the tape to allow removal of the tapped reed plate. Now drill through the remaining reed plate and comb using a drill bit diameter slightly larger than the screws. That's it. Let's look at the comb. Tool marks or other imperfections are easily fixed using the harp plane. Let's start by taping a sheet of sandpaper to a flat surface, such as a countertop or secured piece of glass. I highly recommend silicone wet-dry paper for all flattening work. I'm going to start with 220 grit paper. I occasionally start with 180 or 320 grit, depending on how bad the surface appears. The higher the number, the finer the grit. Set the comb flat and fit the harp plane on top of it. Apply about 1 pound of pressure or just enough to compensate for any bow in the comb. In other words, press the comb flat while sanding in a comfortable and rhythmic pattern. The harp plane is designed to apply even pressure while providing a secure grip. Change the sanding pattern every 5 to 10 seconds. Stop occasionally and inspect the sanded surface. Sanding will reveal high and low spots. Continue to sand until the surface appears smooth and even. If you have trouble inspecting the surface condition, try changing your lighting. Another trick is to draw a few light pencil lines across the surface and then sand until they are completely removed. Sand both faces of the comb until they appear uniform. A brush or vacuum can be used to keep the sandpaper from clogging up. This type of paper can also be hand washed. That's basically it. Next, we will be replacing the 220 grit paper with 320 grit and continuing to sand with progressively finer grits. For example, 320, 400, and then finally 600 grit. At 600 grit, the surface is satin smooth and ready for applying a penetrating finish such as a wax or oil. I often prefer a surface finish such as a food-safe lacquer or shellac. In that case, I often stop sanding at 320 grit and then apply a few coats of shellac or lacquer while sanding very lightly between coats with the progressively finer grits. Again, I may stop at 600 grit or progress to 1500 grit or rotten stone for a high gloss finish. The draw plate gets sanded in much the same way as the comb. The only difference being, I prefer to start sanding with 320 grit and a thin film of water. I only use 220 grit if the reed plate is in pretty bad shape, or for removing rivet nubs. In some cases, I do some initial straightening of the reed plate using a fulcrum or hand tools. It's important to note that we want to develop a flat surface. That does not mean that the reed plate has to be perfectly straight. In fact, some folks believe a slight lengthwise bow improves the connecting seal by inducing a spring-like load. This theory can be supported by testing with just one fastener at each end of the reed plate. Mix a couple of drops of liquid detergent into a glass of water. This will promote wetting. Add a teaspoon of this water onto the silicone carbide paper. Lay the draw plate face down, reeds up, onto the sanding surface. Use the Harp Plane with light pressure and the same sanding process for the draw plate as you used for the comb. The sanding is done to just one surface of the draw plate. Dismantling the blow plate is simply not worth the effort and risk for improving 1/4 of the connecting surfaces. The flat side of the blow plate can be sanded for aesthetics. That concludes the flattening process. In this example, I'm going to do some final polishing. Care must be taken to avoid catching the reeds.
Wow!
Now is a good time to check the tuning and set the reed gaps. Reassemble the harmonica using the fasteners for a light, snug connection. Over-tightening can cause distortion. That's it. You may need to check and adjust the tuning over the next several days. The Harp Plane is 100% made in USA, including its rugged polymer material.